Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be doing a test on my new ICECO APL55. I've had a lot of questions about efficiency and things like that, and in the last video I kind of walked you through all the features, so if you haven't seen that, I'll put a card up here in the top right corner. But if you haven't seen that video, check that out. That kind of goes through the features, the dimensions, all that good stuff, so if you just want to know more in general about the fridge, check that out. But again, this video will be, I'm specifically going to plug this into my BioLite power bank back here behind. We're going to see how much power it takes, and I'm going to time how long it takes to get from ambient temps to about 30 degrees. So again, that's going to be this video, testing the efficiency, testing how quickly it gets cold, and how much actual power it draws to get to that point. So let's get into the ICECO APL55, time to cool and power used to cool from ambient to 30.
You got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, so as you can see, the fridge is off. It has not been powered on. It does have a couple of Pepsis and some drinks inside of it, but no ice blocks, no anything like that. It's going to start at ambient temp, which right now is about 70 degrees outside. I'm in Indiana, and it is May, so it's a little warm outside, but we are going to kick on the BioLite, and then we're going to see again. Let me show you the BioLite over here. All right, so as you can see, I've reset the BioLite. It says 0 watt hours used. It's at 95% here, so I'm going to kick this thing on, turn on my DC power there. That's going to turn on the fridge. You can see it's kind of going through power up here, but so it's showing 71 degrees in one zone and 66 in the other. So there's a little dusty pollen. So, but it's starting at 71 and 66, and then we're gonna hit our settings button here. We're gonna turn it down. So I'm gonna go down to 30 degrees, and then we're gonna do the same for the other side. It's currently at 35. I was actually freezing my water at 30 the last time, so 30 is even a little bit cold. But again, I want to test how long it takes to get from, call it an average of 68 degrees inside of here, down to 30. So it's 135 right now. We're going to start the timer. We're also going to keep track over here on the BioLite, how many watt hours it's used. So we'll see. Right now it's pulling about 45-ish watts, starting from scratch and cooling down. So let's just give it some time and we'll be back. All right, guys, so it is still working on this other zone over here. That's at about 46, but the other zone is at 30. So I'll give it a few more minutes, but I just wanted to get you guys an update. So we are at 30 on one of the zones. It's used about 33 watt hours of power, and it's been about 45 minutes exactly. So it's been basically 45 minutes since I started this thing, and we're already down to 30. You do have this sort of fast cool option, and that is on, just FYI. I think that comes on by default. So when I plugged it in and turned it on, that was already on. But again, that's really impressive. 45 minutes to get down to 30 degrees. You know, in one of the zones, the other one is cooling right now. So I'm gonna keep watching and I'll keep track of that time, and I'll tell you when that one gets to 30 also. But we are down to 30 in one of the zones already, and we've only used 33 watt hours. Again, we're averaging about 45 watts of use at a time. So again, you can extrapolate that out over 24 hours, right? You could say, you know, if I've run this for an hour and then it shuts off, it really just depends on a lot of factors, right? It depends on your ambient temps. It depends on whether it's in sunlight or in shade. So there are a lot of factors. It's really tough to just say this will take X power in Y time, right? But again, I wanted to show you guys a real world test of this thing and how long it took to cool down, and also how much power it used to do so. So really, really efficient. And again, a lot of that efficiency is going to come from that thicker insulation in the fridge. So where this really shines is over time, over use. So this is sort of a test to say how efficient it is from an initial cool down standpoint, but where this really shines is when you let it run for several days in a row. It's going to draw significantly less power than you know, other fridges, because of the amount of insulation that it has inside of it, which is awesome. All right, so we are at 55 minutes, just under an hour, and it just hit 30 in both zones, and the compressor shut off for the first time. The total used was 39 watt hours. So it ran for just about an hour. It was running about 45 watts that whole time, and it used about 40 watts. So that makes actually a ton of sense. But again, now the fridge is there. It's at temp, and so you know, because of that good insulation, it's going to stay there for a long time before that compressor has to kick on, especially because right now it's sort of shaded underneath of the tree cover and my rooftop tent. So again, depending on your setup, depending on a lot of factors like, your ambient temperature, whether it's in the sun and stuff, it could affect how much your compressor runs. But because of the thicker insulation, again, this thing is gonna be more efficient than most fridges nowadays are. All right, guys, so as you just saw in that sort of test that I did with the ICECO APL55, in about an hour, it cooled from 72-ish degrees, I believe, down to 30 degrees inside the fridge. And it used about 33 watt hours of power. So what does that really mean, right? So if we extrapolate this out, my main power bank that I have in my truck is a 200 amp hour, 12 volt battery. To get watt hours, to basically convert that into watt hours so that it is a 1-to-1 conversion, you take the number of volts times the number of amp hours to get the watt hours. So if you take 200 times 12, that gives you 2,400 watt hours. So basically my house battery, my auxiliary battery in my truck is a 2,400 watt hour battery. And if I'm using 33 watt hours of power per hour to keep that fridge running, if it never shut off, which we'll get to that in a second, but let's just say that it never shut off, based on the amount of capacity that I have in the battery and assuming 100% usage, which on a LifePo 4 battery, you can go down to about 5%. So you can actually take a LifePo 4 battery way lower. But even just taking that out of the equation to make the math easy, hypothetically, if I ran the battery to completely flat, I could run my fridge for about 72 hours or about 3 days, right? Which is pretty good. And again, that's assuming that it runs nonstop. So the beautiful thing about the APL55 is that 2.4 inches of insulation all the way around. They've really stepped up their game to try and insulate that fridge as well as possible. The seal along the top is amazing also, so it keeps that cold in. So again, that fridge really turns itself off pretty frequently. Once you get it to temp, it keeps temp really well and doesn't have to kick on a whole lot. So again, knowing that, then you could probably get 2-3 times that quantity, 2-3 times that amount of time out of the battery running that fridge because of how efficient it is, right? So again, there are a number of factors that are going to change that. If it's 110 degrees and it's sitting in the sun on the beach or something, it's going to be a different result than sitting under my rooftop tent and being shaded, right? So all of this is kind of speculation to some degree, but again, just to say that at full power, full cooling, to run down from 72 to 33 took about an hour, and it used 33 watt hours does mean that it will go for quite a while. Again, just wanted to share this, kind of do a test for you guys, show it in action, really using the thing out in a camping trip to show you how long it takes to cool down, so about an hour, and how much power it takes, about 33 watt hours, and extrapolating that out. Again, do the math on your own battery to kind of figure that out, but on a 200 amp hour battery, I could get about 3 days out of it if it ran nonstop. So again, just wanted to share that info with you. Hopefully that was helpful. I know it's taken me a long time to learn about this, amp hours, watt hours, what that all means, how to calculate it and that kind of thing, but it makes a lot more sense to me now after a few years of kind of messing with fridges and batteries. So again, I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, click that like button down below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to click that subscribe button, click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a couple videos, sometimes 3 videos every week. So putting out a ton of content for like newbie overlanders, a lot of gear type videos, features, benefits, that kind of thing, of different types of gear. I have a Nissan, so I do some Nissan content and just newbie overlanding stuff all the time. Also in the description below will be links to all my other social channels, including a podcast that I do. I do a weekly podcast talking again about newbie overlanding type stuff. So if you're a podcast person, check that out. Check out Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Again, wherever you want to come hang out, I'd love to have you. There's also a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers. So if you want something to slap on the side of your fridge or you're looking for something like that, check that out. Then there is also a join button below this video. That's just kind of a passive way to support the channel if you're enjoying the content. It's a cheap sort of way to get early access to the videos. You can get a couple more perks. So you do get some benefits from it, but it also just supports the channel and makes it easier for me to make content. And then there's also the Patreon group, which is more of an active way to support the channel. So if you want to be involved in our 24/7 Discord, where we all kind of talk about rigs and gear and stuff, we do a once a month Zoom call. And we also are going to be doing a couple trips every year. So that's a pretty cool thing too. And then last but not least, the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group, totally free to join. Tons of awesome members, different from the big groups because there's no bullying or anything like that. There's not a ton of self-promotion. That stuff's all kind of banned. So it's just good, wholesome conversations between particularly new folks and then the more experienced folks trying to help them out. So again, check that out in the description down below. But again, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.